Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my diary entry for the week of October 9th through 15th. Today is Saturday, October 15th. It has been raining on and off. Just a little while ago it started, and it's made me super happy, and I've just been really enjoying the cooler temperature today, and so I busted out my cobweb sweater. I think this is the Arachne by Andy Satterland. Those of you who knit probably know this one. I knit this one for myself last year. I believe I finished it. It was like a 2 years in the making because I didn't finish it the year that I had started it. And so, yeah, I really, really love this sweater, but obviously can't be wearing it when it's like super hot. Though I did specifically knit this one in a merino cotton blend, so that would be more suitable for the temperatures we normally have here in October. And so just with how it's nice and gray and outcast, the cooler temps, and now with that little bit of rain, I'm really, really enjoying today. So I busted out a few of my more festive makeups. So I did apply some lashes and I put on my blue lipstick, and I'm so out of practice with the lashes, but they look okay, I think. So yeah, today I have some reading to share with you, and a little bit of knitting, and then some movie watching at the end. So as always, let's get started with the reading. So this week I have finished 7 volumes of Devil's Line. So I actually did not combination read this week like I thought I was going to, but let me just show you these volumes. So this is volume 1. Devil's Line is by Ryo Hanada. Volume 2. This one's published by Vertical and is rated teen, ages 13 and up. I will talk to you about that in a little bit. This is volume 3. Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, and Volume 7. So Devil's Line is a vampire manga story. Let me just hold up this first volume. We're basically in a world where we have these 2 organizations fighting each other. We have the CCC, which is an organization of people who are trying to exterminate devils or vampires. They call them devils in this world, from existence. So their mission is to kill every vampire alive. And then you have the Devil's Line, which is an organization who is trying to help the vampires coexist with humans. I think that's probably the best short explanation I can give. When we get to volume 6, you start to get a character directory up here in the front, because we start following that many characters. And it is very interesting, though, because we were following so many characters. For me, it's a little bit difficult to sometimes distinguish who is who. I know, who is from the CCC and who's from the Devil's Line, because of the situations that we see in the story. But a couple of the characters have, same face syndrome to me. So that just basically means that they look very similar, and it's hard for me to distinguish who is who, because one of them works for the CCC and the other one is part of the Devil's Line. And so in the very beginning volumes, I was having a lot of issues trying to figure out which one of these characters was the CCC character and which one was the Devil's Line. The other complicating thing is that you have crossover in the job operations. So you have some of these CCC members who are working for this task force with these Devil's Line members, and you know that these characters, work for these different organizations or are part of these different organizations, but the characters don't know that each other is in the different organizations. It's just very, like, confusing for me, especially in the very beginning. Now that I'm 7 volumes in, it's a lot easier for me, especially with these character diagrams in the front. I am still very interested in what's going on between these two organizations. There is a backstory on one of our main characters whose name is Anzai. He is the guy that is depicted here on the front cover, actually. He works with the task force as a devil officer. So he's kind of like a police officer. And so he basically has like zilch memory of when he was younger. But he is starting to have like these flashbacks that are like out of context. So he's trying to put together these pieces. And we have a female character who's human, who in this very first volume is walking home with a friend and gets accosted by Anzai because apparently her friend is a devil and she had no idea. He had never made any kind of move to drink her blood. That's kind of how she meets Anzai, and she kind of gets attached to them and they kind of start a relationship together. So there is a romantic aspect to this story, which I'm not enjoying. It's just, I don't know. She's supposedly older than he is. And we finally get an actual age for her later on in the series. But based on what we know of her early in the series, I could have sworn she was at least 5 years older than what they're saying she is. Later on in the series, because she definitely like talks about what she's going to school for. Like, she's a student, but she's like in a program where, you know, she would have to be older. At least in my mind, I thought she'd be older, but that kind of assumption tainted my thought on her and how she acts, because she acts very, very immaturely. And now that I know what her actual age is, it makes a little bit more sense, but it is still very irritating to me. So I know I was going to talk to you about the age rating on this. So this is rated ages 13 and up. For me, I think that is not the correct age rating that should be on this series. I think this should be a 16 and up series, because we do get into situations here where the way things are illustrated could make a 13-year-old person think that those situations were okay. So I'm going to get a little bit spoilery here. If you don't want to know at all, please do skip ahead until I stop talking about this, because I think it's important to address. So at the very beginning of this volume, volume 1, Anzai forcibly kind of kisses her, like with tongue. And she doesn't like fight him off or anything. Her eyes are closed. You know, it seems like it's acceptable. And for me, that's not an acceptable situation. And again, her eyes are closed. She makes a little noise. Like, that's not okay. Like, something like that is not okay. And I don't think a 13-year-old would understand that. Like, I just don't think that they would be mature enough to see that and say, that's not okay. Like, that should be pushed back upon, you know, maybe a slap or something afterwards. Like, that doesn't happen in this book. I just don't think that a 13-year-old person should be reading a series like this. On top of the fact that there are depictions of naked breasts, other, like, sexual situations, there hasn't actually been any, like, full-on sexual situations, but they do talk about masturbation, and there are talks about touching people in their nether regions and things like that. And I just don't feel that's appropriate for a 13-year-old person. I definitely would not have allowed my child to read this series at 13. I probably would have let her read it at like 15, 16, but I would have read it first and been prepared to have discussions with her regarding the things that have happened here. That just may be something personal for me, but yeah, I don't agree that this is appropriately age-rated. So yeah, that's my little rant on that. But overall, I am enjoying the whole mystery aspect of this series. There is definitely a mystery aspect because we have Ansai's backstory that he's trying to put together. There are things other people know about him that they're not forthright with telling him. They're saying, you know, it's better if you don't remember type of thing. Little pieces of his memory are starting to connect with people that he works with currently, and he has no idea why, and those people won't fill in the blanks for him. There's also a backstory about his parents. Like, we get to meet his parents in, like, volume 5, I think, but we don't know why they're not involved in his life, because as far as Ansai know, he's an orphan. There's a whole backstory with his father, too, that is not really fleshed out, just kind of mentioned really briefly. And so there's that. There's this whole thing about, are people spies for the CCC infiltrating the Devil's Line? Are they double agents? What's going on with that? And kind of the two agencies kind of going up against each other and things like that. So all of that really interests me. The relationship aspect of this does not. I am not behind our main couple, and they're very immature. Like I've said before, Tsukasa, up until the point where we actually find out how old she is, I was like, you're very immature for what I thought was like an mid to late 20-year-old, when she's actually like 22. But even so, like, just some of the things she does, she's very obstinate, and, you know, and she gets herself into these situations where she should have known better. For example, people are trying to keep her safe because now a lot of people know that she is in a relationship with Ansai, and human and devil relationships are not looked on very nicely. Plus, there's this whole, like, law thing about having sex with human and devil couples, but that's neither here nor there. She's just in a lot of danger. She gets into another situation where, you know, she needs protection because there are people who are trying to get to her because she is in this relationship with Ansai, and she is just like, no, you know, I don't need protection, I'm just going to go out. And then subsequently gets into a situation where she needs to be saved. So I'm really not liking this whole couple dynamic. I'm not liking her as a character. I'm interested in Ansai and what he's going through, but I'm not interested in what he thinks going into, like, relationship stuff with Tsukasa. So it's kind of weird for me. I do feel like we get an equal amount of relationship and, like, mystery. So I would have much preferred it if we got, like, 85% mystery and intrigue and all of that with, like, 15% relationship. Right now, I'm about halfway through the series because I think there's 14 volumes, though I think only 13 of the volumes are the, like, actual series, and, like, the 14th volume is, like, short stories. I think that's what I've heard. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, at this point where I'm halfway through the series and we're still getting half and half relationship and mystery, I don't enjoy that so much. I did end up giving almost every volume 4 stars. I would read that again. That's kind of my 4-star rating, is that I would read it again, except for volume 6. Volume 6 practically did nothing for me. Like, there was nothing interesting going on. There was basically only one little snippet of the story that kind of made things click into place a little bit. But basically that entire volume was just like not essential to the story. It almost felt like it was filler. Like, I didn't get anything out of it. Nothing really of importance except for that one little thing. So I ended up giving that volume 3 stars. But volume 7 went right back to being very interesting. There was a lot of action and a lot of fighting between the 2 agencies. And so I'm hoping that will continue through to the next volume, which I will be reading tonight. But other than that, that's everything that I have read this week. Or at least finished. I am currently reading Five Nights at Freddy's The Fourth Closet. I had mentioned to you before that I was listening to an audiobook copy from Hoopla. We did go out and purchase a physical copy. I'm about 72% into this, and I would have to say that this is probably going to be my favorite of the trilogy. This one just, like, has more suspense to it. Our main character, Charlie, is not really the person that we're seeing a lot of the stuff happen through. And I've told you before that Charlie's voice is not my favorite. She was definitely getting on my nerves. So, of the friend group, we're seeing a lot more stuff happen from the other people that were around Charlie. So that's making this a lot better for me. Plus, like I said, the intrigue and the suspensefulness of what's going on and some of the revelations that are happening in this is really, like, keeping me, like, hooked to this book. And so, yeah, I'm 72 pages in, 72%, sorry, in, and I should be finishing this up next week. So, really, really enjoying that. But that's everything that I've read so far this week. Next week is the Manga Club meeting. And so I do plan on reading the Manga Club selections from tonight. So that should take up a majority of my physical reading time through to Wednesday night. And then I'll hopefully be finishing this week as well, and then starting in on another novel for the Camp Crystal Lake Readathon. So all of these Devil's Line books, or mangas, I have logged in, except for one, for another team. So I stole a prompt from another team. Obviously, this entire series is based on vampires, so I logged them in for Castle Dracula. I think that's the one. I logged in one of these volumes for Read a Book at Night, which is one of my team's prompts, Camp Sunnydale. And so, yeah, have been racking up the points for my team, which is great. And that is all of the bookish content I have for you this week. I do have a little bit of knitting content to share with you. I didn't knit very much this week. I just wasn't feeling like it, and work was stressful. So literally, this is the Mostly Ghostly sweater. I have done like 5 rows. So you can kind of see there. This is where I was when I talked to you last. This is where I am now. Not very much. That's just going round and round and round. And so, yeah. I haven't done hardly anything on that. This is my Crunkled Ghostbusters socks, and I barely did anything on this too. I did finally start the second sock, so I've done the cuff and 1.5 repeats of the pattern. So I did almost all of this from practically here to here over the last 2 nights. And yeah, just was doing that while I was watching television. So that is all of the knitting I've done. It's just not been a knitting heavy week. It's been a heavy TV watching week though. So we've watched all of our normal TV shows that are airing right now. Plus last night we started Buffy. So Camp Sunnydale, because we watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie for our group movie, there was a lot of interest from people who wanted to do a series watch through, because a lot of people either never watched the series at all or had, watched it before and wanted to watch it again, or like me, never finished the entire series. So we have started a Buffy watch along. We're doing 2 episodes a week. So I watched episodes 1 and 2. It's funny, I did kind of remember all of the things that happened. And it came out in 1997, I believe. So that's quite a few years ago. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching those. And then for Camp Castle Dracula, their group movie is Van Helsing. And so I've never seen Van Helsing before, so we did watch that last night so I can get some Steal a Movie prompt points for the Readathon. That was interesting. I don't think that has high rewatchability for me, though. It was definitely humorous. There were several times where I laughed out loud. But yeah, I'm glad I watched it, so I'll definitely be logging points in for that movie watch long. I don't think I'm going to be watching any of the other movies. I've been kind of talking to my daughter about whether she wants to watch them, because I have never watched like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, and really have not had any want to, but I think my daughter does. At least a couple of them, because we have been watching some video gamers play Dead by Daylight, and so she's kind of familiar with a couple of those characters. And so, yeah, plus every time we log into Peacock, that Halloween Ends movie comes up, and she's like, it's kind of making me think that maybe it wants me to watch Halloween. So we might watch Halloween. I don't think she has any interest in Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but we'll talk about that some more. I'll have to check the schedule, but all 3 of those movies I could steal points for. And then we started our rewatch of Yowamushi Pedal. So Yowamushi Pedal, the next season finally came out, and so we started watching from the beginning to remember, because it's been quite a while since Yowamushi Pedal aired the previous season. And so right now we just started season 2, really enjoying it. On that note of anime that has come back after a long time, Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc has finally come out. We did watch the first episode this week, and it was awesome. So really looking forward to that. You know that my daughter and I have been doing a Bleach read a watch along all year. We are nowhere near being done, but because we had already seen the anime once all the way through, I was comfortable just watching from the 1,000-Year Blood War arc without having to read the whole series. Plus, since I watched it first and now we're reading it, I don't feel any hang-ups on that. And it's kind of been my philosophy in the last couple years to watch things first and then read, because then I find that I'm not as expectant of things to be showing up on screen. I find that a lot of my disappointment with adaptations is that things that I read, I expect to see on a movie, TV show, film adaptation, and I get disappointed when I don't see those things. But if I watch it first and then read the source material, I don't get that feeling of irritation. I don't have the feeling of letdown because I'm not seeing certain things. And it's like I'm experiencing something a little different, because maybe some of the material they pulled isn't from the book. They've changed certain things for some of the reasons. I just find that I'm much happier if I watch the adaptation first and then go back and read the source material. So, yeah. That's pretty much everything that's happened this week. We are supposed to see 90-degree weather sometime in the middle of the week again, which does not make me happy. I wish it would just stay here at a nice 68 degrees, overcast, nice and cool, maybe with a little bit of rain, because rain always makes me happy. But yeah, that's everything I've got to share with you this week. Let me know down in the comments below what you've read this week, what your favorite thing that you've read this week, how you're doing on your readathons, and if you're looking forward to any other TV shows or anything like that. I really love to know. Speaking of other TV shows, I forgot to mention that we did watch the first episode of Fire Country last night, which is a new show. That was really good. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that show. But anyway, let me know what you've watched, what you've read, and if you found best book of the month so far, even though we're about halfway through the month. I'd really love to know. If nothing else, you would just like to let me know that you were here. If you could leave me a spider web emoji for my arachne sweater, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.